Welcome to the BX Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Fowler, and we have another exceptional guest to share their insights and area of expertise with you on the show. Now, just before we jump into the episode, make sure you tap that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app to get more BX Podcast episodes right there in your pocket. Now, if you would like to find out more about BX and attend a meeting either in person or online, head over to bxnetworking.com/locations. That's bxnetworking.com/locations.
Crystelle Topatan is a passionate businesswoman, entrepreneur, and educator. As one of Australia's leading business automation strategists, Crystelle has spent 24 plus years working in marketing and business operations across many industry sectors. She founded Launchy, a multi-award-winning business automation agency to service growing demand in Australia to leverage automation in business, working with business owners and their teams to uncover the ideal customer journey and experience in their business using world-class CRM technology integrated with the latest automated operating systems. She has walked in the shoes of a startup business owner and understands what it takes to run a growing global business, having built Launchy from just herself to a solid global team of automation experts with a growing referral partner and client network. Crystelle, welcome to the BX Podcast.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Great to be here.
The first thing that I love to ask, and I really want to understand, is more about your journey. What got you into this space of business automations and system processes, and what got you to launching Launchy?
Thank you for asking. So I always love listening to that intro because it kind of shows how far we've come. And we did kind of come from just like a lot of people that start as a contractor out there doing marketing. And I actually had the pleasure of working for and promoting people like Anthony Robbins, Cohen Ray, Dr. John DeMartini, even did Donald Trump a couple of times. So all of the kind of professional personal development events. And I basically, I was working for others as an employee in marketing manager at a place called Vision Pursuit for, the seminar junkies out there that have been around for a while. And the demand was there for email marketing. We were starting to do SMS marketing, and this is a long time ago. Like we're talking 21 years ago, that I was doing this. And then we would sell CDs and CD packs, the old Anthony Robbins CD packs and that kind of stuff. And the demand came to then put it online. And we were doing that before anyone else was doing that really in their space, because Anthony Robbins really leads the charge, that's for sure. And that kind of took me to then have to explore and find more resources. And one of the speakers I worked for, Cohen Ray, he actually, he wanted a system, an automation system. And he said to me, you need to find something, let's find it. And off we went. And that's when I found Keep, actually, which used to be called Infusionsoft. And the world's our oyster from there, really. The demand became I was working for him for a long time. And then very quickly, we decided to kind of basically show his clients what we were doing. And about 4.5 years later, I decided to start my own business.
And take me to the beginning of that Infusionsoft journey, because for the people listening who might not have used Infusionsoft or Keep, from my own experience here, it is incredibly complicated and it has been for its entire life. So take me back to the beginning of that journey, first learning it, first trying to understand this world of automation as it was coming to fruition.
Yeah, so it was a big one, actually, because I before I used Keep, I used a system called Business Catalyst, and that didn't have anything like what Infusionsoft or Keep has. And so to actually learn it, we travelled quite a lot to the States, and we'd go and find out who's the best in the industry at that time. And I sat with them and they taught me how to use it. And in terms of marketing, I was across the strategy and what needed to happen, but I didn't know how to turn that into automation. Like, how do I not do it manually and click the button every time? And I understood databases, but how do you then turn a database into usable data and information to then automate from? And so I spent a lot of time traveling between here and the States, because in Australia back then, people were like, auto what? So it was very new. If you say email marketing, no problem. They're like, oh yeah, you get the email blasts and that kind of thing. So yeah, I spent a lot of time with some really, really smart people, and some of the people that you see on digital marketing stages today, I was sitting with back then, and they were at the start of their kind of career. And very, like, I think about the company that we had at that point. I'm like, wow, okay, there's some pretty cool people in there, but we're all just learning at that point. And you have to, just like today, where everyone's, the whole pivot and innovate and all of that, that's what we were doing back then. But in Australia, we're always a little bit slower. We learn from there and bring it over. So yeah, that was a big part of it.
Wow, that would be incredibly interesting to sit and learn in that original kind of kind of incubation period almost of having automation really coming to the forefront. You mentioned data and information. How do you take a database and actually turn it into valuable data? So this is something that I feel like people really underestimate the value of, which is data and information. Can you share your insights into what makes data and information so valuable in how you're able to use it?
Yeah, really, really great topic. And it's one, it's a deep hole you can go into. And a lot of people collect data for data's sake almost as well, really, I would say the biggest thing that we need to focus on when you're getting reports and data is it needs to be customer or prospect centric. So what are their behaviors? Are they clicking on emails? Are they replying to emails? Are they engaging in conversation? Are they replying to SMSs? What are they purchasing? How recent did they purchase? What is their lifetime value? And then looking at even just those basic kind of behavioral and customer data points, you can automate and so much off the back of that. Because if they're like, we work with a lot of wineries as one example, and if someone buys a Shiraz and the database knows that, they know what type they bought, how much they spent, and when they purchased it, if they purchased online or at the cellar door, then past that point, you can design that ideal journey based on all of that information. And so when you've got groups of people like that in different segments with different, because everyone, like you go to a, let's say you go to a winery, you're probably going for an experience and just a bit of fun to enjoy either a family or a friend event of some kind, or if you're a wine lover, you're actually just really focused on the wine and all the things that come with wine. You're not thinking about when you're going to buy your next bottle, but if you've got the system designed to welcome them and kind of bring them into the fold, then they'll come back and buy more rather than just focus on the next winery.
And just on this point, you're mentioning kind of two different demographics here. This is the wine lover, the wine connoisseur, or the people that are just coming to the winery for the event or the experience. Those two people would then be going into the same database. So where does segmentation come into play, and the customer journey that you mentioned before, where does that then split so that a experience can be designed for each type of person?
Great question. So every sequence of events, or whether it be email, SMS, or a task for someone to call the person, because we always want that human element in there too. whether it's any of those mediums, we want to get to know the person right at the beginning. So we would use for all businesses across all industries what would be called an indoctrination. So it's a bit of a kind of like throwaway term, I guess, if you use it like indoctrination. But basically what that is that, hey, welcome, this is who we are, set expectations, this is what you can expect from us. Whitelist this email so it lands in your inbox. Oh, and by the way, click here to tell us how we can best communicate with you. And so that's called a preference center. And so you would set that up. That sits at the bottom of every email as well as in that indoctrination sequence. So then they say to you, okay, I'm a wine connoisseur and I want to learn about wine. Any information you've got, please email me. But then someone else might say, only tell me when you've got festivals on. I don't want to hear about anything else. And then they might say, you know what, and only email me, don't SMS. And so they can tick and pick and choose, which means you're also not going to be considered a spammer. You know, you're setting expectations, they're expecting it from you, and then you can split off those journeys into the right one for the right person. So it's like right message, right time, right person every time.
And that's kind of the fundamental principle of automation is right person, right time, right medium. And you've mentioned customer journey a couple of times. I'd like you to elaborate on this a bit more because the journey is so valuable, it's so important, but I don't think enough people understand what it truly is and what it actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in our world, we call it, there's a few different ways to kind of spin it, but you've got the lifecycle automation or basically the ideal customer journey. So the lifecycle automation, we put into 3 buckets. You've got the first one that's about capturing the leads or the prospects. Then you've got the convert section, which is where you're actually nurturing them to a sale. And then you've got the wow, which is where you're getting referrals, you're getting testimonials and feedback, which is essential. Now, if you imagine that as an image, it's kind of got an infinity symbol all the way around it, because if someone's in that middle section of the life cycle in your business, that first sale is the first handshake. It's the first step in the relationship. It's not, okay, we've got the sale, let's move to the next one. You can kind of imagine, I'm sure you've probably heard this metaphor before. When you're getting someone through from not knowing you to a sale to then feedback and repeat business and all of that journey, it's kind of like the dating scenario. You know, you don't meet someone at the traffic lights and get down on one knee and ask them to marry you. You date, you might send some chocolates, you might go to coffee, you might give some flowers, and you're getting to know each other and say, this is what I stand for and this is what I have. And then every now and again, there might be a little offer that gets thrown out there to, hey, let's go away for the weekend. And you're working your way through the journey. So a prospect needs to be treated like that. And that's how you design out that life cycle. You know, how do you get to the point of attracting them and capturing them? Like, what's your honeypot? It's your ebook, or it's your webinar, or your podcast, or, all of that. And then nurturing them. It's through to the next step. And often nurturing is just another word for education. So we're just holding their hand all the way along.
Now, carrying on with the metaphor of the relationship, there's so much that happens in the beginning of that relationship, the flowers, the chocolates, the dates, would you like to go away for a weekend? All those little things that happen. The thing that often then happens in those relationships is the honeymoon period ends. So for many people, that's where it starts to feel a little bit stale, a little bit boring. So rather than end that honeymoon period in this life cycle automation, what are some ways that it can keep that relationship fresh, keep it happy, keep it healthy, and keep people going past the original honeymoon period in those first couple of sales?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And that's, again, that second part of the life cycle where, and, that wow element at the end is actually the image in the model is a love heart. Because that's often where businesses fall over. Like when someone pays you the money for that first sale, the next step, you need to wow them. You need to deliver what they've purchased, but also take them to a point where there's no buyer's remorse. Some agencies, if someone was to sign up for a new agency service, the agency might send a bottle of champagne out to them and say, "Hey, welcome to the family," and then the whole work, get down and get into it starts. But that wow moment is massive, but also ask for feedback. So, use a good old NPS survey so you can be finding out how likely are they to recommend you to their family and friends. And if they're saying no, then, you get on the phone and you can make that better and improve. But if they're going, "Oh, I'm going to tell everyone about you," then, that's a great opportunity to go, "Did you know we have a referral program? Oh, and by the way, we also have this service and that and that and that." And so you're continuing on that relationship. You're not stopping because you got the sale, basically. And then nurturing throughout that whole time would be the other kind of layer that just always sits on top of it, because we don't want to stop communicating. And particularly with, and this is not as sexy part of these kind of conversations, but email deliverability. If you stop communicating with your email database, you will no longer land in their inbox. Like there are rules out there with Google and Yahoo and Outlook and all of that now require you to regularly communicate with your database. So that's like the mechanical side, but the actual relationship side, there's lots that you can do to continue that and then get them coming back and excited for more.
Now, you've just brought up a perfect point here. The mechanical side of it versus the relationship side of it. And to me, that's very left-right brain, working on both sides to kind of fully utilize that within your business. There's this balance, I feel, that needs to be struck between automation and the actual system and the process and the journey, the mechanical side, to the emotional side being the relationship, the nurture, the personality. How do you strike that balance between both of these sides that are generally considered opposing factors? What brings them together so well?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's tried and tested that people buy from people. And when we're working with clients to work out their strategy, we make sure that we keep those human elements throughout the process. Where, when there was a phone call to be made, keep that phone call there. Connect with people, let them hear your voice, get on Zoom. If you're going to set up a consult call or you need to do we have a lot of allied health patients and, not patients, clients, I should say, that have so many patients all over Australia. And so they use Zoom a lot. So rather than phone, they can still connect with them and have that relationship. So you can still use automation to keep yourself or your team moving through the process. So it might be a task to give someone a call. Or if you're going to be sending a lot of emails and leveraging that, which is a great thing to do to be able to grow, especially if you're at the beginning stages and you are one person and you need to operate like you're five. Use email, use SMS, but use video. Like in an email, put a link to a video of yourself introducing yourself before the consult call. So then you're connecting as a person with them, but using the mechanical technology behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's a great point. And adding that level of communication at scale, especially through things like video and text and email, can be so valuable. I've seen it happen so many times, and I love that you've shared that. And I hope the people listening really take that to heart, because it's so valuable, especially for those smaller businesses. Now, before all of this process begins, because there's a huge amount that happens in here, what are some of the early steps that need to happen before you go building automations and writing emails and sending text messages and all that sort of stuff? where do people need to begin? They might not understand.
Yeah. Okay. So I think when you're looking at your business and you're needing to grow, whether you're growing from 1 to 2 or 1 to 10 or whatever that might be, look at where there's bottlenecks in your business. So when you like, say if you like, when I first started Launchy, I was the lead generator, the salesperson, the scoper, the strategy, the implementation, the training. I was everything. And so I had some really great advice because I knew there was demand. And I said, okay, I don't want to say no to work. I don't want to be a sole trader anymore. I'm going to build an agency. I drew out an organizational chart where my name was in all the roles that I imagined my agency to have. And then I had to look at, like, how can I streamline and get leverage in each of those roles using the system I was actually implementing for everyone else. And so that's a big one for, like, when you're starting to look at how you can use the system. It might just be in the sales and marketing section to start with. A lot of people get started with automation in those areas of business. So it might be, okay, what do I want to do for lead gen? I want to do webinars or evergreen webinars. Okay, great. So design out what that looks like and how that's going to get someone to a point of buying. And then look at the system options that you can use, because there is so many now. Like the market is saturated with options in terms of CRMs with automation, but there are strengths and weaknesses everywhere. And so, but design that out on paper or using little post-it notes. A lot of people love doing that. So it's like a workflow. So that's a really great way to do it. And then number one, start capturing emails and collecting and building your database. Now, and don't just build the database in terms of, even if it's in Excel, God forbid you use Excel. That's a great starting spot, or even a free MailChimp account where you're just collecting them. And don't just collect, start emailing them just little bits and connect with them. And then you can start building from there. That's really like a really great spot. And then you should eventually go to business automation rather than just sales and marketing automation, because that's where the true leverage is, really. Yeah. But yeah, that's where you'd start, I'd say.
Awesome. I'm sure we could keep going down this huge rabbit hole. I know that it's massive in what can be done, and especially if we got into the topic of support automation, supporting things like program delivery or service delivery. There's massive amount of stuff we could go into in that. I might leave that for people to have a conversation with you about. The thing that I want to touch on now is, through this journey, you've been doing it for 24 plus years, as I mentioned in the introduction. Where do you feel some of your biggest hiccups or learnings might have come from in each step of this journey for you personally?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. You know what? I think as a sole trader growing, it's so easy to just get on with what you're doing for clients and what you have to do day to day. And you get up and you do your work and you keep going. That is great because you grow. But what you're not doing is actually building the foundations of your business. And that's what I was the plumber with the leakiest taps at the beginning, without a doubt. Like like my back end of my systems were a total mess because I was moving so quickly for my clients, and they were like, oh, they were ecstatic and they were doing so well. But then for me, when I hired my first salesperson, I didn't have my pipeline and packages and all the things that I needed to have visibility if I was going to hand it to someone else to do. Yeah. I didn't have that sorted. So I would say all departments of the business, just as you're doing something, as you're developing a process, sometimes slow down to go fast. And just get whether it's even just documenting an SOP for a particular thing, that is a really great thing to do, because as soon as you're ready to scale and the right person comes along, you can go, here you go, this is the sales stuff. Here you go, here's the delivery of the Kickstart courses, or, so really just little pieces along the way. Kind of like if you are looking after a house, if you do a little bit of cleaning every day, it's not so much to do every weekend. You can kind of go and enjoy your weekend.
Yeah.
If you do it all at once, you kind of end up spending a month or two going, I've got to pull it together. So yeah, I'd say that was the massive learnings.
Yeah, that's really interesting and great insight from experience, which I love that you've shared. There's one other thing I want to touch on before we wrap up, is something you mentioned in our conversation before we did the interview, was one of the best places to find new ideas for automations is to learn lessons from other industries. Is there an example or two you could share with us that you might have seen work in one industry that translated really well to another?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think, you know what, I'll refer back to our wineries again. We're so deep in working with wineries. It's a great, fun space to work in. They, one of the big things that typically wineries do is they have this amazing cellar door, amazing estate where people come and enjoy the wine. And if someone comes in to try the wine and then this is a typical traditional scenario, and then the visitor leaves, typically the winery wouldn't know who they are. And the visitor who's left actually doesn't know, like they might go to, say, 4 wineries in a weekend, 5 wineries even. And so if the winery doesn't know them, they've been to multiple wineries and had lots of wine and a jolly old time, then no one's communicating and selling anything. No one's saying, hey, this is who we are, this is what you can expect from us. And so I'd say with any industry, if we look at what would be called the mechanical side, which is the entry points into your business, where are the points where you can capture people's details, whether it be SMS this word to this number, or scan this QR code to be part of our loyalty rewards program, or did you like that wine? Have you tried this one? And saying to them, you know what, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, and then starting that communication. So all of our wineries now have a full ecosystem of their systems, so everything's integrated. So if someone walks in the cellar door or they come online, the experience and the communication's the same. And before they even leave the winery, they've been welcomed on SMS and given a little discount code for their next visit. So everyone can just, I would say in every industry, just do that first point of, they can come through the website, they can call us, we'll see them at events, we'll do networking, and we need that QR code or the business card. But when they go to the business card, it needs to bring them back to you. And so really getting nice and clear on that, and then having that journey follow it.
I love that. And having so many different industries be able to teach you for your industry, whatever that might be, is so valuable. Crystelle, could you tell us a little bit more about Launchy, how you work, and how people can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So our website is launchy.io. And you can go onto there, and we have free consults to kick off, and we don't just work with one system. So what we can do is actually look at your business, do what we'd call a bit of a tech stack review. And so we can guide you along the road in terms of where your next step would be and the best one for you. And so, because not everyone's at the same point, and every system is a little bit different with that. So we work with our clients ongoing. We've got clients that joined the business 10 years ago, and they just do little things with us every now and again. And we train, we design the strategy, and then implement for you ongoing as well. Or if you want to take it all on, like we can kind of hand you the keys and show you how. So it's, really, it's not one size fits all, but we have a really defined process that we go through now. And we love what we do. We're kind of geeks at heart, but it's we're like a team of 12 of us now, all over Australia and in the US. So we love what we do.
Perfect. Well, that's great. Thank you. We're going to put a link to Launchy in the show notes as well, so people can find you down there too. Crystelle, thank you so much for being a guest on the BX podcast, being so open and willing to share your experience and your insights. It's been incredibly valuable, and I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
That wraps it up for today's episode of the BX podcast. You can get more of the show by simply tapping the follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. To join us at a live and in-person or online event, head over to bxnetworking.com/locations. That's bxnetworking.com/locations to find a meeting near you. We look forward to talking to you next time on the BX podcast.